Hello, everyone. This is John Browning with Guardian Rock Wealth. I want to talk to you today about inflation, the real story, not the one that you might be getting little bits and pieces on, which is what I believe that most of the time is what we're getting. We're either getting, oh, we're going to see deflation coming up really soon, or we're getting, oh my goodness, we have inflation that's going to completely ruin the economy and ruin everything. Or we're getting the, oh, it's no big deal. Right? We're getting one of those things, and it's not that they are wrong or incorrect in what those people are saying. It's just not the entire story. So I'm going to really quickly here, I'm going to try and do it as fast as I possibly can, but it is a complex. It's not a complicated issue. It is a complex issue, and it talks a lot about the economy. I'll try and keep it not boring. How about that? So what does it mean to you? What does it mean to your portfolio? What does it mean as you try and build your best life? So do we have inflation? Yes, I think everybody gets that, right? We do have inflation right now. Do we have deflation? Now, this is something that's not really obvious or apparent, but yes, I believe we do have deflation. Does it matter to you? Well, it really depends on who you are and how things work within your life currently. So we're going to talk about that real quick as well. Does it really matter? Well, it certainly matters, and it certainly matters to you personally, based on what you're buying, what you need to buy, what you want to buy, and also your portfolio, because what's going on? What's causing this inflation? Will I have enough to retire? Will I have enough to reach the goal that I need to create my best life as I define it? So here's the deal. We have a lot of opposing forces working with inflation today, and the Fed, or the Federal Open Market Committee, which controls rates, which is what we're hearing so much about in the news now, they are aggressively, more aggressive than at any time in history, including 1979 when Volcker did all the work to raise rates and combat 13% inflation back then. They're actually, this time in 2022-23, the Fed this year has done much more on a percentage basis than Volcker ever even considered doing. So for an example, Volcker raised rates from 10% to 20%. That's one times, right? 100 times. Right now, rates were at 25 basis points. Just raising it another 25 basis would have been 100% like Volcker did, but they have raised it many, many, many times more than that. So of course, it's a major shock to the system, particularly for the stock market, growth stocks in particular. So is inflation a problem? Well, I think so, yes. But when the Fed is pulling that proverbial lever to reduce demand by increasing rates, it's not having the same effect. Have you ever tried to hit a computer button or pull a lever or do something and it's not attached anymore? And it doesn't do what it's supposed to do? That's what's happening with the Fed right now. It's kind of connected, right? It certainly is slowing down the housing market and the automobile market, where people tend to finance things, larger purchases. But who are those people generally? I'm going to say generally that those people are in the higher income brackets, right? They're middle class to higher class. They're able to buy a home. So the things that are inflating, and they continue to inflate no matter what the Fed does, are things that people need. They have to buy, like food. Well, what's impacting the price of food right now? Largely what's going on in Russia. Unfortunately, what has happened is Ukraine, who generally supplied a lot of the grains and the things and the food that supplied much of Europe, has been unable to plant. They've had a lot of their farming equipment destroyed. They certainly haven't been able to harvest as much either, and may not have essentially any harvest coming up the next year. We don't know, right? So where does that food come from? Well, it comes from the United States, it comes from Canada, it comes from South America and a few other places around the world, but it's not coming from the same place as our supply. We'll just keep it here in the United States right now. As our supply goes overseas to Europe, what happens to the price? Well, our supply is decreasing, so the price goes up. We've seen price inflation in the food space of 30-40% in many cases. And you may not notice this because maybe the price stayed the same, but the packaging shrank. Instead of 8 hot dogs in the container, you're getting 6 or 4, 5, something like that. Instead of that ice cream tub, which all of us like to think about that, instead of it being this big, it's now this big. Now, we've seen this before, but it's happening again. And some of it is very direct, especially with meats and that kind of thing. The other thing that's going up that the Fed cannot really do much about is energy costs. The reason for that, again, Russia. There's not much we can do about that here in the United States. I know that it's not a political commentary and not investment advice, by the way, either. This is just information for you to take and consider. But Russia has cut off the supply of natural gas to much of Europe. So they have to heat their homes. Winter is coming. Where are they getting that natural gas? Well, a lot from the United States, some from Canada, some from South America, a few other places around the world. As our supply gets shipped to Europe, what happens? Our supply goes down, our prices go up. Now, not near as much as in Europe. The Europeans have seen their energy costs go up many times over. We've only seen a maybe 30-40% increase, which is horrible. And who does that affect more? Probably the lower income folks that are spending a larger percentage of their income on those items. And it's not like they have a choice. They still have to heat their homes if they're up north. Still have to cool their homes if they're maybe down south. All that takes energy. Energy is created right now largely by fossil fuels. And whether we like it or not, and whether we're making strides or not to go more green energy, we still have to build out that infrastructure. And that takes time. It doesn't take months, it takes years. So those prices are going up. There's nothing the Fed can do about that. That part of inflation is going to continue to go up. So what do? You start spending less on things that you don't absolutely positively need. So that does create some deflationary pressures. And that's where we're getting the narrative that inflation is going to come down because we're going to experience massive deflation. I don't believe that's the case because you still have those energy prices continuing to go up. And you are also experiencing a little bit of deflation because the administration is pumping money in by releasing the reserves of oil, which is artificially lowering the price of gasoline that we put in our cars. Again, one of those things that impacts lower income folks more than higher income folks because it's a bigger percentage of their income that they have to spend to get where they need to go. So what I'm saying is your personal inflation rate might be different from someone else's. We're also hearing about the deflationary impact of innovation, which I'm excited about. I talk about this a lot and how it's important for investments and things like that. And I think that's absolutely true, but we're not there yet. We're not there next month or even the month after that. But innovation is slowly bringing down the cost of things like electric vehicles, things that make our lives easier potentially, and things that make us potentially more productive, 3D printing, that type of stuff. But it's not here and impacting us today. So that idea that we have major deflationary pressures that are going to enter into this arena this month, next month, the month after that, I don't think is the case. Will it happen over time? Yes. Will we see things at, say, Walmart and Target, the little things that we buy, need to buy sometimes, office furniture, things like that? Those things are going to come down because they have a huge glut of inventory that they have purchased, and now they're having a hard time selling that inventory, so they have to lower the prices. That's deflationary. But again, major price increases in the area of food and energy in particular, not something that we can control, still going to happen. Are there ways that we can protect against inflation? Number one, your cash is depreciating. So if you have money in the bank, money in your checking account, that's depreciating by the amount of inflation, arguably, right? So what do you do to not have that happen? There are ways to do it. I can't really talk about that on this video because this is not investment advice. But I would love to talk with you one-on-one. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And let's talk. You can get in touch with me by reaching out to guardianrockwealth.com in the Contact Us page, or dial 312-372-5000. Get in touch with me directly, or text the word LIFE to 321-421-5213, and I will come back to you, and there will be a way that you can schedule a meeting with me, and of course get all of my free materials and links and things like that as well. I hope this was helpful and you have a better understanding that it's not like we're going to have a lot more massive inflation in some things, but we might in others. And there's also not likely to be a massive deflationary impact of everything that the Fed is doing to raise rates, although there will be some, and there will be some deflationary impact on other things that we buy and on the innovation front. But again, who buys innovation? Higher income folks are the first ones to be able to purchase that. So what's your personal inflation number? And are you living off of your investments? Do you have investments that you need to grow so that you can reach your goals? How is that invested? How is your portfolio designed? What's your strategy to make sure that you're not losing a lot of your investment now? Let's chat. Hope everybody enjoyed this and learned something from it. My name is John Browning, Guardian Rock Wealth, guardianrockwealth.com. We'll talk soon.